Ali Vitale's on Capitol Hill for us. Ali Rafa is outside the White House, and in a moment, we'll be joined by someone who's covered McConnell in Congress for a long time, Washington Post senior congressional correspondent Paul Kane. So, Ali, let me start with you. We got, it does seem as if McConnell's office is very sensitive to the perception that he has the ability to lead, the quick calls to leadership, fellow members of leadership, the appearance at the Jim Banks fundraiser, the Capitol physician today. It does seem as if his office has gone into overdrive here.
Well, of course they have, Chuck, and this is not the first time that we've seen them do it. Of course, we had that July incident before the Senate went on recess. I think during that moment, there was a little bit more cover because McConnell was with other senators who were able to sort of pick up where he left off, do that press conference. He was able to come back and then do more Q&A with reporters. I think there was a little bit more visibility into just physically seeing him after an episode like that. Now, though, because this has become a pattern, because it's the second time that we've seen the exact same thing, and in a moment where McConnell was on his own, and so the whole event sort of had to pause while he took the time he needed. Of course, his office is doing a lot to try to show the fact that even though he's out of view of the Capitol, he is still very much at work. And I think that though politics is usually a pretty cutthroat business, what we've seen among Republicans who are in leadership and even those who just talk with him and are allies of McConnell's, they have been quick to say that they spoke to him yesterday, that he was in good spirits, and that he was back to work as usual, showing that picture from the Congressman Jim Banks fundraiser. All of that meant to lend to the picture that he's fine, and he's even getting some bipartisan cover from the president himself. Biden trying to make it so that this is commonplace for someone recovering from a concussion, despite the fact that that concussion was now months ago, Chuck.
Ali, they've not been transparent with the public, and we heard 3 weeks ago from various Republican senators, I can think of Kevin Cramer in particular, who said, they take him at his word, but they'd like a little bit more information, maybe at their own Senate. Essentially, what are we defending here? Tell us more. Is he going to bring a physician to a Senate Republican caucus lunch?
I mean, I think that's a question. Certainly, we have several of them posed to McConnell's office right now about what this looks like going forward. And you've got to imagine when senators come back next week, this is something that they are going to be asked about in the halls, and certainly then ask about during Senate lunch. I mean, this is a moment where, unlike Feinstein, and I'm glad you pointed this out, McConnell does a weekly press conference, and he's going into a very high-stakes time where he and Kevin McCarthy are going to be trying to shepherd their party through a vast range of things that they have on government funding with a looming deadline. This is someone who Republican senators are going to want to feel is in top shape to potentially go toe-to-toe with McCarthy on things like appropriation funding levels, on things like Ukraine funding. These are key fundamental things that they're going to have to deal with, and they're going to want to have confidence in their leadership. So even though right now everything is sort of copacetic, you got to imagine that when people start coming back to town, more questions are going to be raised, and McConnell and his team are going to have answers for it.
They do. It's ironic here. I think it's Democrats in the White House who are more petrified of Mitch McConnell leaving right now.
I think that might be true.
Than Republicans. And that's a whole separate conversation that I'm going to have with the panel. Ali Vitale, thank you for that report. Let me go to Ali Rafa down covering the White House. Ali Vitale sort of previewed, I know where you're going to begin, but we heard an expansive explanation of Mitch McConnell's health. Not from a McConnell surrogate, but from the president, didn't we, Ali Rafa?
Yeah, we heard from the president himself sort of doing what McConnell's office is trying to do, trying to tamp down these concerns over his longtime ally, longtime friend's ability to lead and his mental competency in office. Take a listen to a bit of what he had to say a couple hours ago.
I spoke to Mitch. He's a friend, and I spoke to him today, and he was his old self on the telephone, and having a little understanding of dealing with neurosurgeons and people, and one of the leading women in my staff, her husband's a neurosurgeon as well. It's not at all unusual to have the response that sometimes happens to Mitch when you've had a severe concussion. It's part of the recovery, and so I'm confident he's going to be back to his old self.
And Chuck, Biden allies that I spoke with today about this say that this is a sensitive topic. It's one that raises real questions about fitness for office, but they admit that this does put the White House in an awkward position because they're sort of receiving the echo of attention after these episodes that the minority leader is having. And they're responding to it, as you saw the president say there, sort of like we've seen White House officials and campaign officials react to when we see episodes like this or gaffes by the president. They point to how quickly he's been able to recover. They point to his, as you heard Ali talked about, that doctor's note, similar to the doctor's note that gave a clean bill of health that we saw after the president's physical. So the Biden team is in lockstep with how they address these age concerns. But I think something to watch moving forward, Chuck, is how this gains more attention on the 2020 campaign trail. Of course, more camera time is more opportunity for these things to happen, for the public to see the president have these sorts of episodes, and how the campaign addresses this, whether they send the vice president or more surrogates out on the trail, is something we'll be watching for, Chuck.
No, I mean, it does feel as if they limit his public appearances, which ironically could actually have a reverse effect. If you limit the appearances, it makes every appearance more high stakes at some times. Anyway, Ali Vitale, Ali Rafa, thank you both for getting us started on this story.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.